Hello and welcome back to Radio Entrepreneurs. My name is Alex Cooper, and today we're broadcasting from the Center for Innovation Entrepreneurship down at UMass-Dartmouth, and I'm here with the director of that program, Tobias Stapleton. Hey Toby, how are you doing today?
Hi Alex, great to be back on the show.
Yeah, it's great to have you on the show. So there's a lot of stuff going down here. You just walk the halls and you can feel the action going on with all the companies that are housed here. So that's one thing that we can talk about today. So if you want to fill us in on some updates of the guests.
Absolutely. The UMass-Dartmouth Center for Innovation Entrepreneurship is the university's technology incubator. What we do here is provide a physical home for technology startups, but we also provide the help for those companies through a prototyping lab, a rapid prototyping lab, a fully operational machine shop, environmental chem lab, and life sciences lab. So if you look at the mix of companies that are just here in the building, we've got everything from clean energy, clean technology, to marine tech, to even some biotechnology companies. So it's really exciting to see companies and industries that are taking shape on the South Coast that you wouldn't have seen 10 or 15 years ago.
It's really impressive to watch it all. So how do you keep how we keep everything straight down here?
So I mean, one of the things that we cast a wide net. Essentially we are talking to companies on a frequent basis. We're trying to make sure that companies that are forming up, and when I say companies, I mean two inventors or a scientist or an engineer who has an idea for a product. How do we get to them at the point where they actually need the help that we can provide? And it's not always space. For instance, a lot of the inventors that we work with are just trying to develop a prototype that they can then show around to potential distributors or investors. But they don't know where to go. They'll go to a traditional machine shop and find some difficulty in producing their one of something, right? So they don't want to produce 100 or 1,000. They want to produce one that they'll then take to someone and get interest, or maybe not. But they'll use it to generate some interest in the product, and so we can do that. We have expertise in helping companies take something from idea to invention or idea to prototype, and the best example of that was and we took photographs. Somebody came in with a napkin, literally a back of the napkin sketch, and people say that as a thing, but it actually was the thing. They came in with a ballpoint pen on napkin sketch that they showed to our machinist. Within 2 days, we had a model drawn up, a solid model put together. We had the product printed, the prototype printed in the 3D printers by Monday, and Tuesday they were using that that prototype, that 3D printed thing, to pitch to a panel of potential investors. And they ended up getting funding. I like to think it was completely related to that, but that which isn't true. But it certainly helped, to have a physical demonstration of the product that they were working on to show potential investors, and they ended up getting $680,000 to fund their next generation of the prototype development. So it's an example of the kind of work that we do here, but really, trying to and it's great to have Radio Entrepreneurs for the biannual broadcast from the center, because we are in a region of Massachusetts that's not normally associated with innovation, but there's a lot going on here, and we have a lot to offer.
That's terrific. So if you're a small company and you have an idea, obviously you must have had the resources available to turn around something so quick, because sometimes when you go to these places to try to build something, the thought of taking something from a drawing to a prototype in just 5 days, there must be some sort of resources available here.
That's right. Yeah. So one of the everything here starts with a conversation. So we typically will bring, in that case, where somebody's looking to develop a prototype, we'll have them come in. We'll sit down with our machinist, prototype lab manager. We'll sit down with the company or the inventor and put together a work order which scopes out everything from time, materials, and labor to into the work order, and we share that. We work with the company to identify what it is they're exactly looking to produce, because some of them are looking to produce, sort of a low-cost showpiece, something that they can take and show potential investors. Others are looking to develop something that's actually going to go into a product, so they need it to be robust and they need it to be a workable piece. And so it starts with a conversation, and from that we generate what we call a work order. The work order shows the company what we promise to do, and there's a number attached to that, financially, and so at the end of it, and we have a time frame. So for prototype development, that might be days, but for actual product, that might be weeks or longer. We have we've had a number of exercise equipment inventors, and some of those, because they keep iterating over the course of the life of the invention or the development of the invention, and so those are sometimes months of development and tweaking and iterating on somebody's idea for a product.
But the intellectual property still stays with the original inventor?
Yeah, so that's one of the things that makes us different from a traditional university-based incubator, is that we don't take a equity stake in the companies who locate here, nor do we take any rights to ownership in the work that we do. We do have different models for that, but the typical model is somebody comes in and we'll develop a prototype for them, and they will pay for the prototype development. We can do it at a lower cost than they would in the traditional route of prototype development, but the ownership of that prototype or any invention that comes from that would be theirs. We do have a model where somebody comes to us and has a problem that they need solved, but no idea how to solve the problem. And we have a couple examples of this. And the most famous, and the one that we're getting traction for, we had a company based in Norwood who approached us about a technology. So essentially, they were a recycling company that ran across a box of bullets, and when they were cleaning a house out, and were found out quickly that there is no way or methodology for recycling bullets, and they came to us and said, this is a problem and we need essentially to develop a solution. And our environmental chemistry lab manager, over the course of months, developed an electrochemical process that actually not only inerts a bullet but recycles the components, so you're able to pull things like copper and zinc and other lead even out of the bullet. And today, over the last few weeks, we've been meeting with the Army and other interested parties to showcase the technology. And the company that came to us, User Friendly Recycling out of Norwood, when the Spiegelmans approached us, that was the problem they were looking to solve. Today, they are the licensee of that technology. So, and the university owns the patent. We patented it and then licensed it exclusively to that company. So, a good example of a private-public, so private educational partnership, and one that was an open-ended question. We don't know how to do it, and we need you to come up with the solution for it.
Well, it's interesting that they came here to look for that solution too, as opposed to some more famous universities.
That's right. Yeah, it's actually, that's a good point, because one of the things that I took over 2 years ago, and one of the things that I've made it a mandate to get out and tell people what we do, because the way that came about was we had done, our environmental chemistry lab manager, Dr. Chen-Lu Yang, is an expert in environmental remediation, and had happened to do a project with the Spiegelmans and user-friendly recycling, and so when they ran across this problem, they automatically thought, well, let's take it to Dr. Yang and see what he can do. So we had a relationship that we grew, but that's not always the case. And so getting the word out about what the capabilities are and what we do is key, and that's why we're excited every time to be able to host Radio Entrepreneurs, because we love what you do, and we love the opportunity to tell the story.
And that's why we like coming here.
Right.
You never know what you're going to learn.
Right. No, exactly. Yeah. Well, good. Yeah. Well, on that front too, we've had, a number of our startups over the last year have seen tremendous success. We've had, large company acquisitions. This company L3 Communications, which is a large $14 billion market cap publicly traded company, acquired one of our marine technology companies that makes a underwater autonomous vehicle. One of our recent spin-outs just went public on the Australian Stock Exchange. They did a $7.7 million Australian dollar raise, which is about 5.5 or so million dollars. And so there's a lot of great activity that's happening today, in terms of mergers and acquisitions, capital formation, but in the end, it's all driven by the technology that's being developed right here at the Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship.
That's terrific work. Thank you, Toby.
Well, thanks, Alex. Yeah, pleasure to have Radio Entrepreneurs and pleasure to be on the show.
Thanks again for being on the show and lining up some great guests for the rest of the show. This is Radio Entrepreneurs. I'm Alex Cooper, and thank you for joining in today.